Here's a great deal for people in the UK. Because the government has been so awful at handling illegal immigration, you now have to give up your civil liberties and get a digital ID. Let's unpack all the reasons this is a terrible idea that's going to make you less safe and give the government more power.
This government will make a new free-of-charge digital ID mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
What's that old saying, never let a good crisis go to waste? Keir Starmer has a problem. Okay, really he has a million problems, but if I had to pick the biggest, I would say that it's the fact he's the most unpopular Prime Minister in recorded history. Yes, even more unpopular than Liz Truss, who of course only lasted 45 days. Now, among the hundreds of reasons for his unpopularity is illegal immigration. British people have been protesting this issue for a long time, and Sir Keir has finally found the answer. And wouldn't you believe it, it's the exact same answer to society's ills that Labor have been pushing for since Tony Blair was in power: digital IDs.
But the simple fact that every nation needs to have control over its borders. We do need to know who is in our country.
We'll get into the privacy worries later, but it's important to note that even the government's own reasons for the digital ID are completely crazy. Listen to the Culture Secretary on how this is all going to work.
From the end of this Parliament, every person in the UK will have a digital ID, and if you want to work in the UK, you'll be required to show proof of that through your digital ID. We think that's better for employers because at the moment it's far easier to fake papers. We think it's easier for them to be able to check that and know that what they're looking at is correct. And of course, there are huge fines. You can even face a jail sentence if you employ someone illegally here in the UK. So we think it offers protection for them, and it also enables us to make sure that anyone who comes to this country who is working is doing so legally.
They are saying they need digital IDs because there are too many illegal workers hacking the system as it exists now, and they need to make sure employers have access to correct records before hiring. Here's the thing though. It's already illegal for employers to hire illegal immigrants. You just heard her say that. The fact is that employers are employing them anyway. I'm sure there are some that are doing it completely unknowingly and would be horrified to find out they've broken the law. But a good number just don't care. Illegal, legal, low-cost workers are all the same to them. So the idea that this digital ID is going to stop illegal immigration dead in its tracks is ridiculous. The laws are already there and they're not working. But if we bring in these new laws, British people would still have the illegal immigration and a digital ID. Which brings us to the consequences, the scary, scary consequences. First, privacy. We're asking the UK government to not only have all of this data, but keep it secure. Key details about you are in some file the government has. Can you really trust the government to look after it from a world of sophisticated, sometimes state-backed hackers? That's why Kemi Badenoch isn't a fan.
But one of the other things that I'd be personally worried about is just the security of this data. This is not a government that has shown that it is competent. You look at what's happening with JLR, they haven't been able to help. I think it would be quite a risk to put all of our data in one database.
I'll go one better. I do not trust the Labor Party with that data. I do not trust the Conservative Party with that data either. I do not trust any party at all. I do not trust them with a bat. I do not trust them with a hat. The best way for someone to protect themselves from hackers and fraudsters is to limit the amount of personal information about themselves that exists on the internet. But with digital ID, the government is making people, if they want to work, put key information about themselves out there. And then, of course, control. The idea of a free people is naturally scary to governments of all shapes and sizes. Without adequate information about the people they govern, how can governments really know what's happening within their own borders? Well, they can't, and that's a good thing. Governments at their best are completely invisible to society. We shouldn't know that they're there until something goes wrong, like crime or natural disasters. The more incursions from government into the lives of law-abiding citizens, the bigger sign it is that something isn't right with how society is operating. If one law-abiding British-born person needs to show that they have government permission to work, since that's basically what a digital ID is, something is wrong. But to people within government, it's the operation of a harmonious society. Now, I'm not some conspiracy theorist who thinks there's someone sitting in a chair, stroking a cat, twirling a mustache, seeing digital ID coming for Britain and thinks their evil plans are finally coming to fruition. But I am someone who thinks that government and bureaucracy attracts a certain type of person. Someone who thinks that they know better than others about how individual lives and society should operate and aren't afraid to nudge people in one direction or another. So while proving you are British to be able to work isn't in and of itself the end of freedom, it does open a portal to something a bit darker. This allows the government to set the terms of what responsible citizenship means and limit what people can do in a society if they fall short of that. So let's brainstorm. Maybe responsible citizenship one day means no questionable social media history, like sharing offensive memes or criticising people online. The British government has already shown it cares deeply about this issue. Look at all the arrests it's made for bad social media posts in the past. And this isn't even a UK Labour thing. Remember how the Conservative Party reported people for anti-lockdown posts in COVID. Okay, another one. Maybe responsible citizenship one day becomes abstaining from alcohol or junk food. I mean, seriously, think of the effect on crime statistics and the savings we can make to the healthcare system that if we got rid of those ills from our society. If the government has your data about migration and job history, maybe it just gets a little bit more data about your spending habits. It's already got an app in your phone. It's not too much of a stretch that app starts talking to other apps. And if you're a lefty watching this, what if Prime Minister Nigel Farage one day says patriotism is responsible citizenship? Are you going to be happy you gave government the power to keep track of people's data and let them decide what role people can play in society? All right, look, that got a little heavy there, so let's end on a different note. I've got one question for you. How is this guy?
Frankly, we've been squeamish about saying things that are clearly true.
The same as this guy.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right.
Same guy. That's it for this week. Remember to like and subscribe to Sky News Australia if you haven't already, so you don't miss just not my videos, but all the videos from the other wonderful, way better hosts we have here on this network. See you all next week.